119番の消防ですが、火事ですか？救急ですか？
救急です。
救急ですね。住所を教えてください。
東京都渋谷区渋谷1丁目12-13。郵便局の前です。
怪我ですか？病気ですか？
病気です。人が倒れています。
わかりました。あと5分ほどで救急車が到着します。
You're listening to Learn Japanese Pod, the podcast that helps you to speak Japanese more naturally and fluently. I'm your host, Alex, and I'm joined, as always, by our wonderful Japanese teacher, Ami Sensei. How's it going, Ami Sensei?
はーい、こんにちは。元気です。アレックスさんは？
Genki desu.
イエーイ。
Yay. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, welcome, and where the devil have you been? Seriously, people, come on. You can check out our
Just
website.
kidding.
Just kidding, kids. You can check out our website at learnjapanesepod.com, and that's got links to our Discord server where you can meet like-minded and friendly people who want to improve their Japanese just like you. So come along and say hello. We also have links to our free app, which gives you full access to all our podcasts and PDF show notes. So you have absolutely no excuse not to study Japanese. So, Ami Sensei, what are we talking about in today's podcast?
Okay, in today's podcast, we'll be teaching you how to call an ambulance in Japanese. We'll go through some basic related phrases and some questions that the emergency services might ask you. After that, we'll go off script in Japanese so you can practice your Japanese listening skills, and then we'll finish with the random phrase of the week. That's where we teach you a random Japanese phrase that you won't find in your textbooks, which might surprise and impress your Japanese friends.
And make them fall off their bar stools, hopefully. But let's not cause injuries.
Yeah, let's not cause any reason to call the ambulance.
Exactly. If you made someone laugh so hard that they injured themselves, you can use this podcast, the information within this podcast, to learn how to call an ambulance just in case. So there you go.
Yeah. We'll be blamed and thanked for.
Blamed and thanked for. I think that's true for most of these podcasts, actually. Yeah. And dear listener, don't forget, we do have show notes, PDF show notes to this lesson on the podcast feed. And as I said, it's also available on our app if you have any questions. So anyway, without further ado, let's listen to today's dialogue again. And afterwards, Ami Sensei and I will break it down and explain absolutely everything.
Or we'll try to.
We'll try to.
119番の消防ですが、火事ですか？救急ですか？
救急です。
救急ですね。住所を教えてください。
東京都渋谷区渋谷1丁目12-13。郵便局の前です。
怪我ですか？病気ですか？
病気です。人が倒れています。
わかりました。あと5分ほどで救急車が到着します。
Okay, did that make much sense? If it didn't, don't worry. Ami Sensei and I will explain it to you. Ami Sensei, what was the first sentence we had?
Okay, the first sentence was 119番の消防ですが、火事ですか？救急ですか？
So the first one's pretty easy. 119 bang, 109, number 119. What does that mean?
So that is the number you dial to get services, get these emergency services to you. It's 119 or 119番, number 119, 119.
119. And then, so this is obviously the emergency services are answering your call, right? You've called them, they answer. And so what did they say next?
They said, 119番の消防ですが. So 消防 is actually the firefighters or firefighting department. So it actually connects you first to this department. 消防。119番の消防ですが。And then they said, 火事ですか？救急ですか？火事 is fire. ですか is it a fire? 火事ですか？救急ですか？ So is it an emergency? 救急ですか? So I guess then you have to select, right? Or tell them.
Yeah, you get put through to the fire service, but then you can choose whether it's actually something related to a fire or it's a medical emergency. And then just for out of interest, QQ, the kanji, the first kanji for QQ is Q, which means to save someone, right? And then the second Q is, what does it mean? To hurry, to rush?
Yeah, like a quick or rapidly.
Rapid, right,
Yes.
rapidly, yeah. And then this time it's an emergency, a medical emergency.
Medical emergency.
So we said,
救急です. It's a medical emergency.
that's it. It's that easy. So des, remember, is am or are. Desu ka, is it? It's a question with a ka on the end. But if you just say des, it is. So QQ des, yeah, it's a medical emergency. Then what was next?
救急ですね。住所を教えてください. So first, I said, 救急ですね. So we're just confirming what they said. 救急ですね. So the ne sort of is the affirmation.
The ne means something like I see or something, isn't
like,
it?
Okay.
Or
yeah.
okay, I understand what you mean, right?
And then 住所を教えてください. 住所 is address and お is the particle placed between a noun and usually a verb. 教えてください. Please tell me. Literally means teach me, but in this case, please tell me your address. 住所を教えてください.
And just a quick side note on the grammar, as Ami Sensei explained, the or goes between usually like the subject and a verb. But actually, if you wanted to make this more casual, you can actually drop the particle and then just say 住所教えて. 住所教えて. That's a more casual way of saying it. But obviously, because this is the professional emergency services.
Formal, yeah.
Yeah, it's more formal, right? Yeah, they're going to say 住所を教えてください. And くださいmeans please. Okay, and then we did an address, which was kind of interesting.
Yes. So we said, 東京都渋谷区渋谷1丁目12の13郵便局の前です。Whew, that's a long address.
That's a long address. So just really, really quickly, like when you do addresses in Japanese, the first bit is the area or the city. So Tokyo, to means city. So Tokyo city. Then Shibuya-ku. Ku means like a ward. Basically, it's a administrative area. And then the rest of the address is basically based on these concentric boxes. So if you imagine like an area that's subdivided into a smaller area that's subdivided into another smaller area, that's what those numbers are. So you've got Shibuya-ku, which is Shibuya Ward, Ichome, which is this kind of administrative area, which is subdivided into Juni, 12. And that's subdivided again into a smaller box, which is 13. So it's a little bit tricky to understand. I think actually Andy and I talked about Japanese addresses in the last couple of fun Fridays ago. So we won't go into it in too much detail, but check the show notes and you'll understand what that is.
Okay.
And then finally, they said, 郵便局の前です. What does that mean?
So 郵便局の前です. 郵便局 is post office. No is of. 前 front. This is. So in this case, in this situation, in front of the post office.
And it's quite common that when you dial the emergency services, they'll ask for your name, they'll ask for your address. They may even ask for landmarks, like what can you see around you. So if you're in an area that doesn't have a defined address, like maybe you're on a country road or something. There's no specific address. They may ask you to describe landmarks. What can you see? What are you near? They may say, can you see a large building? Can you see a post office? Or can you see a hospital or something like that? Okay. And then, so what's the next question?
Next question is 怪我ですか?病気ですか? So 怪我 is injury ですか? Is it an injury? 病気ですか? So 病気 like sickness.
Right. And then we replied, what?
病気です. So somebody's sick or I'm sick. 人が倒れています. So 人 person が points to the subject. 倒れています. 倒れています comes from 倒れている. Someone is passed out or collapsed. 人が倒れています. Somebody is passed out.
Yeah. So 倒れる is the verb to fall down. And 倒れてます is, yeah, kind of like someone's collapsed.
I guess somebody's laying down.
Someone's
not
laying.
necessarily passed out.
Yeah, no, I mean, they could be unconscious, but but it means that they've fallen down, they've collapsed, they're on the ground. Yeah. And then finally,
わかりました. Okay, I understand. あと5分ほどで救急車が到着します. あと another or in 5分 5 minutes ほどで about 救急車 ambulance が that particle pointing to the subject 到着します. 到着 is arrive します. Will do. So in about 5 minutes there will an ambulance will get there.
Great. So did that make sense, dear listener? Have a listen again. You can also listen to the extra audio file that we add to the podcast feed, which just has the Japanese dialogue. So if you want to, you can listen to this. You can listen to this dialogue and repeat, so it makes sense.
はい。
Let's talk a little bit more about calling an ambulance in Japan and maybe some useful related phrases. Ami Sensei,
はい。
yoroshiku onegai shimasu.
お願いします. First of all, as you remember from the dialogue, the number for emergency services in Japan is 119 or 119. You can use that for either calling the fire department or an ambulance. As a visitor to Japan, you might not have access to a phone, so it's best to ask someone nearby to call an ambulance for you. In that case, you can say, すみません、救急車を呼んでください. すみません、救急車を呼んでください. Excuse me, please call an ambulance.
Okay, let me try that. So, sumimasen, excuse me. 救急車を呼んでください. Please call me an ambulance.
Perfect.
Or maybe you could just scream, 救急車, ambulance.
すみま、誰か somebody 救急車.
すみません、人が倒れています. Someone's collapsed.
Oh, you could just say 誰か like to call for somebody like 誰かすみません、誰か救急車呼んでください.
Oh, okay.
Like somebody call an ambulance.
Great. Nice.
And how about this one? It's likely that the emergency services will ask you お名前を教えてください. お名前を教えてください. What's your name? So pretty simple, right? And you can reply アレックス・ブルックです.
お名前を教えてください. お名前, your name, or that little pesky particle that goes between the subject and the verb. 教えてください. Please tell me. お名前を教えてください. What's your name? And then アレックス・ブルックです. So actually, just a little hint here. It's good to pronounce your name with a Japanese accent to break it down into katakana mora, as they're called, kind of like the Japanese syllabary. It's maybe a little easier for the person on the other end of the phone to understand. Yeah, so Ami Sensei, how would you explain what's happening in the
Okay,
situation?
so if there is a sick person, you can explain by saying 病人がいます。病人がいます。
Mm.
There's a sick person. Or if there's an injured person, 怪我をした人がいます。怪我をした人がいます。Or even 怪我人がいます。怪我人がいます。
Mm.
Mhm.
So byoki is sick. Byonin is a
Mhm.
sick person.
はい。
Kega means industry.
Injury.
Injury. Injury. Sorry, my name's Alex and I can't remember English anymore. So kega is injury, but kega nin is an injured person, which is pretty easy, right? So nin means person, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. And then if there's been a traffic accident, you could say 交通事故です。交通事故です。
So kotsu means traffic, right?
はい。
And jiko means accident, right?
Yes.
So kotsu jiko, that just like that, a traffic accident.
Just like that.
Just like that, yeah, right.
And then here are some other phrases that describe someone's medical condition. You can use these to talk about yourself or someone else. So the first one is 呼吸が苦しいです。呼吸が苦しいです。This means someone is having difficulty breathing. 呼吸が苦しいです。
Kokyu is breathing. Kurushi means difficult or straining to do something or painful or bad, right? Okay.
And then 胸が苦しいです。胸が苦しいです。So this literally means someone is having chest pains, but can also imply they're having difficulty breathing.
And that might also imply perhaps someone's having a heart attack or some kind of cardiovascular problem,
Ne.
right?
怖い。
Kawaii, 超怖い.
意識不明です。Someone is unconscious. 意識不明。
So ishiki means consciousness, right?
Correct.
And then fume actually is it comes from like yukue fume, right? It's like got
actually,
missing,
fume
right?
just means like unknown.
Oh, okay.
So put them together, it's like, conscious, hard to say, unknown.
Unknown, right.
Yeah, because you can add fume to yukue fume, like whereabouts unknown, but like, it can be used for other
things, right.
words too. Yeah.
Cool.
And then lastly, 出血です. Someone is bleeding. 出血です.
So the pronunciation of that is really interesting because it's not shuketsu, it's shuketsu, right?
There's that little tsu in there.
So if you imagine the sounds all have equal spacing, rhythmically speaking, and then you've got a sh and then a ke and then a tsu. So between the sh and the ke is this silent beat, if you like a rest in music. So it's not shuketsu, it's shuketsu. Shuketsu.
There's like the, yeah. Or think of it like a little hiccup or in music, staccato.
Staccato, yeah. Shuketsu.
Shuketsu. Ta,
Shuketsu.
ta, ta. So there's like the pop. Exactly. Little jump there.
Comes from two different kanji, right? Shutsu, which means to go out or come out, and ketsu means blood. And then when you put them together, the sound slightly mutates. I don't know if that's the correct word. So instead of shutsu ketsu, you just change it to shuketsu, right? There you go. Bit of pronunciation nugget for you there. So, Ami Sensei, those are super useful phrases. 超勉強になりました。
よかったです。
Maybe we can talk a little more about some tips and tricks and advice about what to do in a medical emergency. So I would say the first thing is travel insurance. So if you're traveling to Japan, it's kind of something boring and not very interesting that you need to organize, but do get travel insurance. And you really want to have your travel insurance details on hand, or travel health insurance details on hand. So the good news is that actually calling an ambulance is completely free in Japan. You're not going to get charged. What, people?
This is crazy news to America.
I know. To Americans, I was actually reading up on this, and again, please correct me. I may be wrong with these figures here, but I heard that even after insurance, the average cost of an ambulance, depending on where you are, is at least $400, $500.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And it can go up into the thousands of dollars depending on what kind of insurance you have, what state you live in.
Right. That sounds right.
That sounds right, yeah. But ambulances themselves are completely free in Japan, so you won't be charged at all. However, you will be charged for medical care, which is not surprising, right?
Right.
So
understandable.
Right. So your travel insurance details will hopefully save you a large medical bill. And of course, I can't speak for every single travel insurance plan out there. You've got to check what your travel insurance plan does and doesn't cover, and how you can claim for medical bills. So it's a bit boring to organize, but I think a bit of planning in advance might save you a lot of money and possibly even save your life. So definitely make sure you've got health and travel insurance before coming to Japan. Another small tip is keep your hotel address on hand. And obviously, if you're living in Japan for a longer period of time, you definitely want to memorize your address in Japanese. And because the emergency services are going to need to know that information if you get sick at your hotel or at home. And a good trick is just to carry the business card of the hotel you're staying at, just so you can show to people. And that's also just useful for taking taxis back to your hotel if you've been out all day. Ami Sensei, as you said before, you can dial 119 for emergency services, but you can also dial 110番, 110 or 110 for the police if necessary. I have called the police on a couple of occasions.
Oh, what? On yourself?
Yes. I'm giving myself in. I'm a wanted criminal. No. I actually, many, many years ago in place I used to live, I called the police on these really noisy neighbors who were having this.
I figured it was
it's just
neighbor
noisy.
Related.
No. It wasn't like hardened criminals kidnapping people or anything.
But they must have been pretty loud, huh?
Oh, it was like 4 a.m. in the morning, and like they were screaming out the window, and I think the other neighbors were waking up as well. So the police came around and shut that party down. So I'm a party pooper. Sorry, people.
That's okay.
Oh dear. Hey, I like a party, but not at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Not at 4 in the morning, no.
I need my beauty sleep, Ami Sensei.
Of course. We all do.
Last point I'll say about calling emergency services or calling an ambulance is if you need to call emergency services but don't feel confident enough to speak in Japanese, apparently English language assistance is available. However, it might take longer for them to connect you with an English speaker. That's the only with an English speaker. That's the only downside to that. I can't really guarantee that's true every time. And again, another way is if you're in a situation where you're panicked and the Japanese isn't really coming out, then just ask a passerby to call for you. And generally, like if you're in a station or near a koban, a police box, obviously they're the perfect people to call. They have like emergency training and they'll be able to help you out. But hopefully you'll never have to call an ambulance.
そうですね。
So, Ami Sensei,
はい。
it's got to that part of the podcast where we switch completely into Japanese. What? So our lovely listeners can practice their Japanese listening, and I actually can practice my Japanese speaking. which is all good. So I think the topic of conversation is autumn in Japan. So 日本の秋. So I'm gonna switch to Japanese in 3、2、1。はい。日本語モードに切り替えました。
変換。
変換。
よろしく。
よろしく。じゃあ、日本の秋について、
はい。
アミ先生と話したかったんだけど、
はい。
日本の秋って、どんな行事がありますか？どんな、なんていう、イベントとか、
イベント。
祝日があるのか。
祝日は、秋分の日。
秋分の日。I'm going to translate that one because that's a difficult one. So 秋分の日 is the autumn equinox. And if you don't know what the autumn equinox is, Google it.
ググってください。
So 秋分の日は、何
私もそんなに詳しくないけど。
そんなにわかんない、詳しくない。
まあでも、なんて言うんだろう。ね、多分他の国と似てるのかな。まあ、昼が短くなって、こう、ね、夏から秋に変わる、なんかまあ、区切りの日というか、として。
そうね。
じゃないかな。
北半球と南半球が平等の対応があります。なんてどうやって説明すればいいかな。南半球と北半球と南半球が同じく対応の時間がある。どうやって説明すればいいかな。
同じなんか同じ時間
があるね。12時間ちょうどね。そうね。そうそう。で、秋分の日は実は祝日ね。だから本当は仕事に行かないけど、やっぱり僕の日本人の友達は今日仕事してる。
ああ、出た。
そうそう。出た、やっぱり。
日本人のいいとこでもあり、悪いとこ。
そうですね。日本人のいいところと悪いところが同じですね。日本人はやっぱり、なんていう。
働き者
ですね。しっかりして一生懸命働くけど、
働きすぎ
と、いい意味と悪い意味ね。
そうですね。
だから秋分の日ですね。あとですね、月見って何ですか？
漢字が月と見るで、moon と、watch or see。
watching the moon, right?
literally だから月を見て、例えばお野菜とかの収穫に対して感謝とか、なんだろう、お月様に似てる団子とかを食べて、丸いものを食べて、なんかまあ健康とか幸せを祈るみたいな。で、綺麗な月を見る。
綺麗な月を見るですね。で、ちょうど、月は昨日だったね。だから確かに昨日ちょっと月を見たらすごく綺麗。
綺麗でした？
すごい綺麗でしたね。本当に。あとね、ススキを刺して飾るでしょ。
そう。
そう、いいですね。
いいよね。
とっても日本の
秋。
そう、日本の伝統的な秋だよね。
帰りたくなった。帰りたい。お団子食べたい。
いいね。で、あとね、なんか日本の伝統的な行事じゃないと思ったら、実は、もう一つありますよ。
ハロウィン？
そうね。
最近はでもなんかね、人気というか、まあコロナでちょっと状況は変わってるけど、ね、結構まあ若い人たちとかは、ね、去年、一昨年ね、ぐらいまでは、みんな、どこ？渋谷 渋谷とか。
渋谷集まって
うん
仮装して騒ぎ大騒ぎするね。
ねすごいね。
このポッドキャストを録音する前にちょっとハロウィンについてちょっと勉強しましたね。記事を読みましたね。でその記事は、日本では1970年代にキリランド原宿店がハロウィン関連商品の発売を始めました。要するに70年代に原宿のキリランドがハロウィングッズを売ることになりました。初めて売りましたね。で、そして初めて
コスチュームとかかな？
そう、仮装で。いや、どんな商品売ったかわからないけど、この記事によって初めてのハロウィン、イベント、初めてのハロウィンイベントもキリアンドが販売促進の一環として、1983年に原宿表参道で行ったハローハロウィンパンプキンパレード長いね。
名前
長いね。と言われており、原宿表参道約100人の参加者が仮装してパレードを行いました。要するに、その83年に、キリランドがそのハロウィングッズをプロモートするためにパレードを行った。で、そのパレードは、その記事によってね、ほとんどね、外国人だった。で、その時は、その日本人がそんなにハロウィン知らなかったね。で、それ以降はどんどん広がって、どんどん人気になって。
今はもうね、当たり前になって。
で、今当たり前になって、で、特に若者なんか20年代の子が、その仮装して、コスチューム仮装を聞いて、パーティーする。
確かに。
で、なんでハロウィンが人気になったかというと、やっぱりキリランドが初めてハロウィングッズを売ったけど、その後ディズニーランドもハロウィンのなんていう行事のイベントをやったね。
まあディズニーの影響は大きいからね。
ある。でももう一つある。知ってる？アミ先生。
知らない。
やっぱりノバとか ECC
英会話教室
という英会話教室で子供にハロウィンという行事を子供に教えたわけ。
なるほど。で、子供たちが仮装してくるみたいな。
そう。だからずっとなんか80年代から90年代のちっちゃい子供が、子供の時にハロウィンという行事に慣れて、だから大人になってハロウィンが当たり前と思った。だから毎年仮装してパーティーすることになったね。
全然私みたいな10代の人も全然今も仮装してるから。
仮装してる。そう。で
ほにゃらら10代の。
そう。本当？
はい。私はもう未だに好きですよ、仮装は。
今年はなんかハロウィンのパーティーする？
パーティーはもちろんしないけど、仮装して写真を撮ったりして、かぼちゃとかいつもくり抜いて。
ジャックオーランタン。
そう、ジャックオーランタンを作ったりしますね。
いいね。家族がみんな仮装する？
家族でしようかなって。
家族でするね。で、どんな仮装するかな、今年。わかる？
私ですか？これは見てのお楽しみです。絶対インスタグラムにあげるんで楽しみにしててください。
じゃあ、アミ先生のインスタをフォローしてるから、その写真を楽しみにしてます。よろしく。
OK です。
いいね。
はい。
And now, it's that part of the podcast you've been waiting for. That's right. It's Random Phrase of the Week. Yeah!
Yay!
Yeah. So this is where we completely go off the map, off the road. We go AWOL and we just start talking about completely random weird Japanese phrases just to make your Japanese friends laugh and ask you, where on earth did you learn that? So this week's random phrase is Ami Sensei.
Guzu guzu.
Guzu guzu. Is that Gion kotoba?
Yeah, I believe so.
Onomatopoeia, right? Guzu guzu.
Yes.
Guzu guzu.
We have a lot of these in Japan or Japanese, so guzu guzu.
Yeah, there's yamahodo wa arimasu yo ne.
ありますね. Yeah,
ありますね。
so you can use guzu guzu in several different situations or for several meanings. So the first one is ぐずぐず言ってんじゃないよ。ぐずぐず言ってんじゃないよ。言ってんじゃないよ is like don't say such and such. So and ぐずぐず in this situation is like don't speak so like you know, kind of like
whining,
なんだろう
complaining.
whiny, complaining, or even what's the word? 優柔不断 like indecisively or like pitifully, or it can mean all of the above.
Grumbling, complaining,
Like,
whining, being indecisive.
Yeah, like I don't want to go. I don't want to do that. Like, but I wasn't planning. Yeah, that's guzu guzu.
That's guzu guzu.
Yeah, and then the other one, which I think I hear more often or I use more often, is 彼女はいつもグズグズしてる. Like, she is always グズグズしてる. She is always sort of like, kind of like, なんだろう, slow or like, just not acting quick or, yeah, again, a bit of...
Maybe being annoyingly slow to do something.
Annoyingly slow, yeah.
So if you say guzu guzu you, it's like complaining and grumbling. But guzu guzu suru is to be slow in an annoying way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like a mom might, you know, tell their kid, like, you know, グズグズしないの, like グズグズしないで早く, like
グズグズしないの.
Like, yeah, hurry up.
Hurry up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guzu guzu shinai no. Yeah, like stop dilly-dallying, as we used to say in England. Yeah, stop messing around. Like get on with it.
Exactly.
So just going back to the first one, you said guzu guzu itten janai yo. Itten janai yo is another way to say iwanaide kudasai or you na, which means don't say. Yeah, so itten janai yo. The first time I learned that, I was like, wait, itten janai is not saying? So it means no. Don't say that. Stop complaining, stop grumbling, stop whining about that. 彼女はいつもグズグズしてる. Actually, my friend says that to me. お前はいつもグズグズしてる.
Oh.
Yeah, you're always like...
I'm always guzu guzu, like leaving
the house, right?
The house, it's like, okay, let's go. And then like I'm always the last one, you know, or like everybody's waiting for me, kind of.
You are the guzu guzu hanning.
I'm the guzu guzuer.
Guzu guzuer.
And the guzu guzuist.
Guzu guzuist. You're the guzu guzuist person I know. Yeah. So don't guzu guzu. Hayaku. Yeah. So I just heard that phrase used the other day, and I just wanted to teach everyone that just because I think it's hilarious. It's just a really funny phrase.
Yeah. Oh, like taking their time. Like
taking your time. It's like, oh, come on, stop taking your time.
Yeah. Like, oh, ぐずぐずしないで早くプロポーズしなよ. Like, propose already.
Propose already.
Propose to her already. Yeah. So yeah, taking time.
I want a ring on it. I want a ring.
なんだっけ、Beyonce.
Right. How did it go again?
If you like it, then you put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it.
Oh, what's Beyonce doing these days?
I don't know. Probably still kicking butt.
Yeah, she is a powerful lady, Beyonce. Yeah. Beyonce definitely is not guzu guzu onna.
Like, totally.
She's
guzu guzu してないね.
Guzu guzu してないと思う. Yeah. She's not the kind of lady to mess around. Good old Beyonce. Bless Beyonce.
Totally random.
Totally. And that is random phrase of the week. I hope you enjoyed it, people.
I did.
Woo! Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. It's such a pleasure, so much fun recording this podcast with you, Ami Sensei. Thank you so much.
Oh, いえいえ、こちらこそ。
And I'm always learning Japanese from you, and I hope that people listening to this podcast are learning some Japanese. And I hope you wonderful people find this fun. Just a reminder, don't forget to check out our website at learnjapanesepod.com. We have links to our free app where you can download all our podcasts. We have links to our Discord channel. Come and say hello to everyone. We have this wonderful community of people, very supportive, like-minded, Japanese studying people. And you can also read more details about the podcasts and get the show notes all on our website. Don't forget, you can also study Japanese in a bit more of a structured way with our online courses, and you can find those at dojo.learnjapanesepod.com. That's dojo.learnjapanesepod.com. And that's it for this week. Ami Sensei, いろいろ教えていただいてありがとうございます。
いえいえ、どういたしまして。
めっちゃ勉強になった。
よかったです。
イェイ。
イェイ。
See you lovely people next time. Bye.
またね。